Hello YouTube, this is A Cruel World, and today we'll be talking about lotteries and how they impact us. Lotteries are a very interesting concept from both a tax and economic standpoint, because one, lottery taxation is a voluntary tax, meaning that you're not forced to participate in the lottery if you don't want to, and two, it's one of the few forms of truly regressive taxation, meaning that it's a form of tax that's aimed at collecting primarily from the poor. We'll get into these 2 points a little bit later in the video, but first, I'd like to cover how and why public sentiment has changed on lotteries in the past century, how advertising affects modern-day lotteries, the surprising amount that's actually spent on lotteries each year, and then finally I'll give my thoughts on them from both a tax and economic lens. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. As a very new channel, it means a lot to get any feedback at all. I'd love to keep doing more videos like this if there is an interest, and hopefully pretty soon I'll get better at the whole video editing thing. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get started. Lotteries have a very long history. They date far back to ancient Rome and were used during the Renaissance to raise money for churches and other government projects. These days, lotteries are a controversial pastime of American life. Once considered an unacceptable vice, every American state banned lotteries from the late 1800s through the 1960s. Today, however, lotteries are extremely prevalent, operating in 45 states. Public opinion has shifted, with most people having an overall positive view on it. Roughly 50% of Americans surveyed said that they've played the lottery in the past year, and most people stated that they considered lotteries morally acceptable. This dramatic turnaround can be attributed mainly to two major factors. One is the desire of states to increase revenue without having to make the unpopular decision of raising tax rates. And two is to gain public support. Lotteries are often presented as a valuable public service, with portions of revenue earmarked for services which provide a public benefit, most commonly education and infrastructure. By presenting themselves as both a beneficial service and a palatable alternative to tax increases, lotteries have become increasingly popular among the American public. Modern advertising campaigns often use advanced psychology in order to sell their products. Using the strategy of subconscious seduction, advertisers are often able to influence consumers without them being consciously aware of it. Even those who actively resist may well be susceptible at a subconscious level to the thousands of advertisements that an average person experiences every day. As with most ad campaigns, lottery advertisers compile data identifying likely players, build socioeconomic profiles of consumers, conduct focus group research, and test marketing new products. They spend significant amounts of money on scientific research, including brain studies to better understand how to effectively manipulate player behavior. The most common form of lottery advertisement encourages magical thinking by highlighting potential life-changing effects of winning a lottery. Typical advertisements focus on hard-working, blue-collar individuals who took a chance on buying a ticket and won big. It's your dream, anything can happen. Commercials, however, make no mention of the odds against winning. What this all sums up to is targeted ads to selling hope and developing addictions for those who can least likely be able to afford it. Americans spend a whopping $70 billion on lottery tickets each year. To give you a better sense of how large that is, it's over $200 per person if you divide that amount amongst all U.S. citizens, kids included. That's a lot of money not being saved for retirement or being used to pay off credit card debt. It also accounts for more than 10% of the total state revenue in most states. So states are fairly dependent on lotteries being a consistent revenue stream. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, lotteries are voluntary and regressive forms of taxation. I think the voluntary part is pretty straightforward. You only get taxed on lottery winnings if you choose to play the lottery. And what I mean by regressive taxation is basically this. The taxes we're most familiar with, income taxes, are progressive and that's how we're accustomed to taxes working. Progressive means that more taxes are collected from high-income earners because tax rates increase as you earn more money. Regressive taxation is the opposite. More of the tax burden is placed on lower earners than higher earners. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that lower earners are paying a higher tax rate, but just that more of the taxes are collected from lower earners. So even flat taxes, such as sales tax on products you buy, can be considered regressive. But the lottery taxes take this to the extreme. How lotteries typically work is that the payout is somewhat based on the amount that's collected. There's inefficiencies along the way that reduce the payout further, like advertising and operating expenses. But let's look at a simple hypothetical example. Lottery A collects $1 million and pays out $600,000. The winner then also has to pay taxes on their lottery winnings, including state, city, and federal taxes, so they end up with around half of this, so $300,000 when all's said and done. So with that in mind, these are very bad odds, and your expected payout would be much higher just going to a casino. In summation, lotteries rake in a large proportion of revenue from people of low socioeconomic status while having next to no impact on the rich. The average person from a high socioeconomic status has typically a higher level of education and understands the expected returns from the lottery. Advertising is not targeted towards these people and instead invested on those that would be more susceptible to be influenced into regularly spending on the lottery. By disproportionately collecting income from the poor over the rich, wealth concentration and inequality in these states increases, further widening the gulf between the haves and the have-nots. It feels like a cop-out by states and their lawmakers. They want to increase their state tax revenue, but don't want the public outcry that comes with it. So they shift this burden onto their citizens who would be most negatively impacted by this. People who need to really budget every dollar they have, people who don't often understand the economics behind it, and they sell them on the dream. Thank you so much for listening and making it all the way to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and as always, hope you have a wonderful day.